horrible. Horrible movie. Will Smith, Earth 2. Did anybody ever see that? Or Second Earth? I don't forget what the name. It was absolutely horrible movie. Most powerful thing that Will says in the whole movie. And actually, I think they made the movie just for him to say this. That danger is real, but fear is a choice. Danger is real, but fear is a choice. And so Dr. King said he wasn't going to fear any man. So he had bravery. He was able to see things that other people couldn't see. And so I find it interesting that this particular mountaintop speech was not something he was supposed to do. He was not supposed to be in Memphis. He was not supposed to be helping these black and white sanitation workers get equal rights, get fair pay, get good compensation. He was not supposed to do those things, but he was there and he did it. And there are many stories that go along as to the trappings of this particular journey. One of which is that he would send Coretta Scott King fresh flowers every time he went away. She was a good Southern belle. And so he would send her fresh flowers. But on this particular occasion, he sent her plastic flowers. And being a person who received fresh flowers every time he was gone, she took offense to receiving these plastic flowers. And if you're accustomed to having one kind of relationship and you feel a shift in the relationship, what do? What would you do? So she called him up and she said, Martin, what is going on? I got some plastic flowers sitting on this doorstep. What's that about? And he said, Coretta, I don't feel good about this. There's something different about this, and I don't feel good about what we're doing here in Memphis. And she was a good wife. Good wife do when she feels or hears that her partner is feeling depressed or stressed or strained or unsure of themselves. And what does she do? She reassures them. She pumps them up. She's like, no, Martin, you got this. You've done this a million times. You're going to come home just like always. This is another opportunity to help some people. And this is what you do. And Martin says, okay, yeah, you're right. Yep, I can do this. This is what I do. And she said, okay, now back to these plastic flowers. Why did you send me these plastic flowers? And he said, honey, I wanted you to have something to remember me by. So we know how this plays out, right? So he says, I've been to the mountaintop. I've seen the promised land, and he doesn't make it. But he says, we will make it. Does he say black people will make it? Does he say Hispanic people will make it? Does he say that white people will make it? He says, no, we as a people will make it. And I find it interesting that the Reverend would use such a motif in his presentation, because what he's doing is he is equating the struggle of his time, his contemporary struggle, with an ancient struggle of those against their oppressor. That the Bible that he is basing his experience on taught him about this lesson of people escaping their captors in Egypt. That there was a leader that said, let my people go. Much like Charlton Heston in that movie. Anybody ever seen that movie, The Ten Commandments, right? So it took me a long time to know that actually black people did come out of Africa, but that's a whole nother thing, just as about the movie, you know. So I imagine in my head that there's a part two to that movie, and that the part two looks like this. That the old leadership is now off the scene. There's new leadership here, and the people are following this new leadership. They're not sure about this new leadership, and they're complaining to the new leadership about the old leadership. And so finally, the new leadership is fed up with the people. So this is, again, in my imagination, they bring all the people on Pride Rock. And so they stand on Pride Rock and they say, Simba, don't go there. No, I'm just. So they stand on Pride Rock and they say, Moses is dead, 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 dead. They drop the mic and they walk off stage. For these people who are part of this epic struggle, this classic battle of good versus evil, people fighting for their freedom and their leader being Moses, and now he's taken off the scene. Everybody knew he was off the scene, but why was it necessary for this new leadership to say that old leadership is gone? Why was it necessary? First of all, we got to face some facts. And what are those facts? That the old way of doing things is gone. And it's not coming back. Is Dr. King going to come back and save us from ourselves? No. Is Mother Teresa going to immaculately, bring herself into existence to help us heal the hurts and harms of people? Is Nelson Mandela? Is Harriet Tubman? Is Gandhi? Are these? Thank you. Susan B. Anthony is who I was looking for. Are these folks going to come back and help us save ourselves? And the answer is no. And if they are, I do not have time to wait. But Dr. King gives us something. He gives us something. He says, I might not make it, but we will. Did you know that you are somebody's Mother Teresa? You are somebody's Dr. King. You are somebody's Gandhi. But typically, you don't take up that role because you're embarrassed. And what is your embarrassment? You don't know what to do. In the face of injustice, in the face of misogyny, in the face of racism, in the face of oppression, sexism, heteronormative oppression, we don't know what to do. So what's our default? Nothing. But I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you. We have programs for you called Couch to 5K. Anybody ever seen those? Right? Couch to 5K is to encourage people to get off of the couch and to actually start to run and in preparation for a marathon. There are areas in my life where I'm running a marathon. There are other areas in my life where I'm just running a 5K. There are other areas of my life that I need to get off the couch. And so if we're going to be empowering the folks that we work with every day, we also have to empower ourselves. What are you supposed to do if you catch on fire? Stop, drop, and roll. Anybody been set on fire and tried that out? So you've never tried that out, but you know what you're supposed to do. And how is it that you know? You've been taught, you've practiced, you thought about it, they've shown you videos, they've encouraged you to do that. So I want to prepare you for these days ahead, because you're going to have to practice having conversations with people that may not necessarily agree exactly with you, but you have to find your commonalities and latch yourself and tether to those commonalities so that we can heal the great rifts that has been created in these last 90 days. So yeah, you are somebody's freedom liberator. I was at I love the dollar store. Anybody else with me? All right. Dollar store makes me feel good about myself, because I can afford everything in the dollar store. And so I'm in the dollar store, and there's a couple in front of me, and it's a young lady and a young man and a child in one of those umbrella strollers. And I only found out that it's called an umbrella stroller because you can fold it up like an umbrella. Like, that's creative. And so they're standing in line, and I'm right behind them, and I got important stuff to do because I'm important, right? And so I'm standing in line, and I got my basket full of all of my dollar stuff because I'm important and I'm feeling good about myself. And so the young man and the young lady are standing there, and she pulls out an apple juice out of her basket, puts it on the counter. Simultaneously, he sees something shiny and is paying attention to the shiny thing. She pulls out her EBT card. Are people familiar with the EBT card or a SNAP card, right? So she pulls that out, and she's in mid-swipe of the card, and he turns to her and says, "You stupid boob. How the boob are you using that EBT card when I got money right here, you stupid boob?" Right? And so he's cussing her out. Now, the store is full of people. While that is happening, everyone in the store starts checking prices at the dollar store. Because what are we saying to ourselves as this drama unplays right in front of us? This is none of my business. And unfortunately, I have a small voice that has been getting me from the couch to 5K. And the voice says, "Say something." And I'm like, "Are you nuts? What are you?" And the guys are roaring, and you can just see this stuff fuming off of. And I'm like, "Okay, I'll make you a deal, voice. I'll talk to them after I'm done doing my important business." And so I said, if they're still outside, once I'm completed my stuff, I'll go out and speak with them. And so I take my time in doing my stuff, and lo and behold, I go outside, and guess what? They're outside. So I trail behind them, and now I'm trying to think of like what kinds of things to say. Like what do I say? And so I trail behind them, and then he picks up the phone. He gets a call, and he's talking to whoever he's talking to, and he's still pointing at her, and he's cussing, and he's loud, and it seems like he doesn't physically get bigger, but like his aura is just like. Just his vibe is just like huge, right? And so I'm like, you know what? He's on the phone. I can't say anything, but if he gets off the phone before I get to my car, I'll say something, right? So I'm trying not to half look, and so I start making a beeline towards my car, and I'm almost at the car, and he hangs up. So I'm like, okay, here we go. So now they've walked into a grocery store. I follow them into the grocery store. I have enough sense not to tap a stranger from behind on the shoulder to say, "I want to talk to you," right? And so I go around an aisle, and I come face to face with them. And so I asked the young man to take a step to the left as a social cue for the baby and the mom to kind of, or the baby and the mom to give us some space. And so I do that. Now, I will tell you that the voice was very encouraging up until this point. So now I got nothing. So I'm doing a little bit of stall tactics because there are a couple of things that are going through my mind. One of the things that's going through my mind is, if I say the wrong thing, who's going to catch it? She is. It is also very apparent to me that as he's cussing her out in the store, she is saying nothing. So I understand that this is also a pattern of things that have happened before. So now I'm asking for not only the thing to say, but the right thing to say, so that I can actually be helpful. So I'm standing there in front of the gentleman, and I tuck my ears down. I put my tail between my legs. I want to show that I'm non-threatening, right? And so I'm trying to figure out what to say to the gentleman. Now, he and I have now created public-private space, right? So it's a private space and a public space, just in case somebody needs help. So I have him face to face, and the voice says, "Open your mouth." Now, I am so relieved and so excited because I trust this voice. I know this voice, and this guy's about to get it, because the voice is going to get him, right? So I open my mouth, and this is what comes out. "Sir, can I share something that I've learned about women? if you want her to grow, you have to water her and give her sunshine. I repeat that not for him, but for me. I'm like, what is that? Water her and give her sunshine? And I said, sir, do you know what I mean? And he exhales. Yes, sir, I do. I do know what you mean. Great. Have a good day, sir. I did my thing. I'm out of there. I wasn't exchanging cards. I wasn't trying to, get them into services or whatnot. I did what the voice told me to do. And it took me 2 weeks to figure out why I was compelled to speak. And so sometimes as agents of a bureaucracy or agents of social services, sometimes we don't get it right either. Sometimes it takes us a while. Because I thought I was going to stand up for that lady, that I needed to talk to this man and get him correct about how you treat a lady. I thought that by me standing up to him and having conversations with him and making him think that he would actually treat his woman better, and maybe they would have a better relationship, and he would understand the struggles that the sister is going through. I thought maybe that was the reason. But when I figured it out, it changed everything for me. I was compelled to engage in that conversation because of the child. They needed someone to disrupt whatever was going on in that system. That on some level, I was reassuring the child that there are people who see what's going on and will intervene. One of the things oftentimes we forget is that we think that we're working for the client that's in front of us, when in fact, we're working for the generations that client represents. When we provide education, when we give people skills, we give them jobs, it is just not for them, but it's for everyone who follows behind them. I was on for a short time in my life, we were on welfare. I went to Head Start because we were below the poverty line. And my parents got the skills necessary to make sure that I had the skills to make sure that my daughter doesn't have to do those things. And I'm not against social welfare programs. I'm not against Head Start. I believe in it, and I will fight for it. I sit on the board of an organization that monitors and heads and funds Head Start. I believe in it. But I also believe that if we give people the hand up they need, we change the trajectory of their generations. And we can't be short-sighted about that. We can't be sad about that. We can't make excuses about that. We have to be bold and confident, because Dr. King is relying on us to be his hands and feet to make sure that we get there. And so when we get there, what does that look like? Well, first of all, on the front page of your handout, there's this idea of recognizing what people want and what they need. And what people want and need is they're looking for significance, they're looking for belonging, and they're looking for safety. Significance, belonging, and safety. Significance says that I'm a person with purpose and power. I can do something. I can do something. Belonging suggests that I'm in relationships with people who understand what I can do. They understand my power. They understand my purpose. Think about your friends, the people you surround yourself with. Do they understand your purpose? Whether that purpose is given to you by the universe or you decided for yourself. Do they understand your purpose? And lastly, am I physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually safe to be in those relationships with people who understand my purpose. So everyone is looking for safety, significance, and belonging. I'm oftentimes in training, and people will ask this question, well, why is this immigrant group moving into my community? The same reasons you moved to your community. They're looking for safety, significance, and belonging. So why do kids join gangs? They're looking for safety, significance, and belonging. Why are people sagging their pants? They're looking for safety, significance, and belonging. I used to be the pull up your pants police. I was writing tickets all the time until I realized that I don't need to write tickets. What I need to do is show people or tell them, give them the information that they need to make better choices about their lives, and say there are certain contexts where you may not want to sag your pants. And there are certainly contexts where it is a skill to be able to sag your pants to make it through the day. So context is everything. And we don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. And oftentimes we have to change how we see ourselves in an ever-changing world. And so that's called a paradigm, a P-A-R-A-D-I-G-M. I used to say paradigm because I was hooked on phonics. It works for me. And so this idea of a paradigm is simply how you see the world. And we don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. Lastly, this idea of attitude. Attitude is about goal accomplishments. And all too often we encounter people with attitudes, and we misdiagnose what the attitude is. And the attitude, again, is just a side effect of goal accomplishment. When you get what you want, when you accomplish your goal, what is your attitude? It's positive, it's good. When you're denied access to what you want or you can't get it, you have a bad attitude. And so we have to help our folks, and we have to recognize that when we have a bad attitude, what we realize is that there's a goal that someone wants that they have not been able to get. And so our job is to help them to get that. And so if you turn to page 2, one of the things I think is also important for us to recognize. I talk a lot in this presentation, so I apologize. On page 2, there are 4 truths of human. I got 5 minutes. All right, great. So on page 2, there are 4 truths about human beings. Human beings can learn, change, and grow, even if we don't see evidence of it. That people do what they think works, even when it doesn't work. And that all human behavior is goal-directed, directed towards those 3 things that we talked about before. And that attitude is a reaction to a goal. What is the most valuable non-renewable resource on the planet? Time, water, you. And so part of our job is to remind people that they are whole human beings. Even without a job, even without being able to produce, I am a whole human being. When I see the people with the signs, one of the things that I strive to do is to remind them that they are whole human beings that may be stuck in a spot. My spot doesn't define my humanity. My relationships with other humans defines my humanity. So as you think about that, on page 3, I talk a little bit about these artificial ways that we like to talk about humanity and how that's broken up. The importance of the human soul, to not fall to technology and obstacle illusions. These obstacle illusions come in the forms of talking about races and our differences. These are obstacle illusions, artificial barriers to authentic human relations. And at the bottom of page 3 is an assessment that you can take for yourself. Give yourself a plus, a minus, or a 0 when you've had conversations about those particular groups. Because we also have to recognize this particular question. If we're going to be effective in working with people, we have to have an answer to this question. Is there something wrong with minorities? And every negative indicator, we see large groups of minorities, particularly African Americans and Native Americans. Is there something wrong with them? And if the answer is yes, then we need to get a commission to find a vaccine. We need to get a pill, a shot. We need to do something to augment their DNA so that we can fix that DNA. But if there is nothing wrong with them, then we then have to start looking at the systems by which they're created and operating in. And I want to tell you that my hue, my skin tone, my texture has nothing to do with my humanity. In 1970, I was born, and there was a barbaric practice that the doctors had at that time, and they would hand the baby over. The doctor would hand the doctor would receive the baby, and the doctor would slap the baby. And so the doctor slapped me, and I did what any self-respecting young man would do, and I slapped the doctor back. That's actually an old Richard Pryor joke, and the only one I can tell. And so he handed me to the nurse, and the nurse did something that was very archaic and barbaric at the time. And she looked at me, and she had a checklist, and she went down her checklist, and she hit this category called race. And in Dayton, Ohio in the 70s, there were 3 categories: black, white, and other. And so she looked at me, and she looked at my family, she looked at her list, she looked at me, she looked at my family, she looked at her list, and she made her decision. And what decision do you think she made? Black. But sometimes I fantasize about what if she had clicked something else. But that's only a fantasy. Right? But the thing that compels me to really think about this world in a totally different way is the answer to this question. Before she made her decision, I was here. So what was I before she made her decision? I was born human, but America made me black. Fitting into this society is requiring and asking that you fit into some kind of box. The liberation comes for us when we recognize these differences and these commonalities, and we can celebrate both of them equally and importantly. And I will tell you, as a job seeker, it's